All right, diving right in today. We're tackling water scarcity.
Okay.
And this one's particularly relevant, I think, for anyone prepping for those UPSC exams.
Yes, definitely.
So we've been poring over a bunch of sources, reports and articles and stats to really get a grip on this whole water scarcity thing.
Yeah, it's a big one.
It's complex,
Yeah.
right? It's way more than just, oh, there's not enough water. It all ties into, like, demand and how climate's changing and how we're managing this precious resource.
Absolutely. It's all interconnected.
So our mission today, let's extract the key insights, the drivers, the impact, and especially how this plays out in India. And then connect it back to the bigger picture because it's all related.
Yeah, let's break it down.
Okay, let's unpack this whole thing.
So water scarcity, at its heart, it's pretty basic, right? It's just when the water we've got can't meet the demand.
Makes sense.
And what the sources really highlight is that, this isn't some new problem. It's been going on for ages, and it's still impacting billions of people worldwide.
It's mind-blowing when you see those numbers, like 2/3 of the world facing severe scarcity for at least a month every year.
Yeah, that's a huge chunk of the planet.
It's huge. It's not some, off in the corner issue. It's a global reality.
Absolutely. It affects the vast majority.
And it goes even deeper, right?
Yeah.
Over 2 billion people live in places where there just isn't enough water to meet their needs.
Right, and those places facing the most extreme shortages, Middle East and North Africa.
Those are the hardest hit, huh?
Yeah, countries like Bahrain, Cyprus, Kuwait, Lebanon, Oman, they're really struggling with water availability.
So what's going on in those specific regions? Is it like a perfect storm of factors, or what makes them so vulnerable?
It is kind of a perfect storm, These countries have high water usage at home. Their industries guzzle it up. They've got livestock needing water, and then agriculture, all that irrigation.
Right, the demands just pile up.
Exactly. And they're using something like 80% of their total available water just to keep all those things going.
80%. Wow, talk about stretched thin. And speaking of, being stretched, there's this term that keeps popping up, water-stressed countries.
Yeah, that's a key concept.
So what exactly does that mean, and how does it connect to what we're talking about here?
Okay, so a water-stressed country, it's defined as one that's pulling out, withdrawing 25% or more of its renewable fresh water to meet its needs.
So basically, a quarter of what they have that comes back naturally.
Yeah, and right now, 2.4 billion people live in countries like that. And that 25% mark, it's significant.
Why that?
It's that's when the alarm bells start going off, It means the demand's pushing hard on the supply, and it ups the risk for scarcity down the road.
Like teetering on the edge there.
Exactly. And it's not just one or two places. It's all over the world.
Now, let's shift focus a bit. I want to zoom in on India, key for anyone tackling those UPSC exams. What does the NT Ayog report tell us about what's going on there?
That report lays it out pretty clearly. It says almost 600 million Indians are dealing with high to extreme water stress.
600 million. That's a big number, right?
Huge, yeah. Like a huge chunk of the population facing this every day.
And it's not just about, inconvenience or something. It's a life or death situation for many, isn't it?
Absolutely. The report links about 200,000 deaths in India each year to not having enough safe water.
Wow. That's really sobering statistic.
It really hits home, how water scarcity directly impacts health and well-being.
We often think of water scarcity as more of a rural problem.
Yeah.
But the sources are pointing to big cities feeling the strain too, right? What's the situation there?
It's a growing concern. Cities like Delhi, Bengaluru, Chennai, they're already in a tough spot with shortages.
I've heard about that, yeah.
And sadly, it's probably going to get worse.
Why is that?
More and more people crowding into urban areas, climate change, making things unpredictable.
Well, it's all connected.
Exactly. The sources single out Southern and Central Asia and North Africa as being in a really critical state.
Yeah, and it's not just a developing nation thing, right? Even developed countries, like I was reading that the U.S. is facing some serious water level drops.
Yeah, it really drives home the point that managing water sustainably, it's everyone's problem, rich or poor.
Okay, so now get this, the concept of 0 day.
That's a scary one.
Yeah, for anyone who might not know, what does that mean? What is 0 day when we talk about water?
0 day. It's basically the day the city runs out of usable water. Like the taps go dry, nothing left.
It's like a dystopian movie or something.
I know, right? But it's not just a movie, it's happened.
Oh yeah, Cape Town back in 2018 came awfully close, didn't they?
They were on the edge, man. Reservoirs dried up, drought dragging on forever. They had to ration water like crazy, never been done before.
That was a real wake-up call, wasn't it? Like even a big modern city can hit that point.
It showed the world how fragile things are.
And there's a city in India, Bengaluru, that's facing similar risks, right? Potentially heading for its own zero day.
Yeah, it highlights that just growing bigger and bigger without figuring out the water situation, that's a recipe for disaster.
Thinking about the human cost here, one thing that really struck me in the sources is how this whole scarcity thing really hits women and girls the hardest,
Yeah, that's a huge social impact that often gets overlooked.
especially in places like rural India, right?
Exactly. In those communities, women and girls, they're the ones who have to go and get the water, and often it's miles away.
You mean they're walking like 5-10 kilometers a day just to get water?
Sometimes even more. It's backbreaking and dangerous, too. Carrying heavy loads, walking alone in remote
Plus,
areas.
it's not safe.
No, and the sources, they give this example of villages in Uttarakhand where women are having to trek over 1.6 kilometers across rough terrain just for water.
I can't even imagine.
And that's not unique. It's happening all over India and in many other countries.
That's heartbreaking. And it's not just the physical toll, right?
Mhm.
This affects their education, their chances of getting a job.
Yeah, you got it. Girls miss school because they're spending their day fetching water, and that just keeps the cycle of poverty going.
And even if they do go to school, a lot of them drop out, especially when they start menstruating, if there's no clean water or toilets.
Yeah, it creates a really tough learning environment. Having clean water and sanitation in schools, that can make all the difference.
Totally. Now, here's a weird one. We're talking about water scarcity, right? But then there's this whole other problem, water wastage.
I know. It's like we're shooting ourselves in the foot.
Seriously, give me an example of what you mean by that.
Okay, think about your shower. Like an average shower, it can use 10 to 25 liters of water every minute. So if you shower for 10 minutes,
That's a lot of water down the drain.
right, you're using up to 250 liters, just like that.
And it's not just about our habits at home, right?
Mm-hmm.
Our infrastructure, like our pipes and stuff, plays a role too.
Oh, yeah, big time. In the U.S., they lose something like 3.7 trillion liters of water each year just from leaky pipes and faucets.
Trillion. That's hard to even picture.
I know, it's wild. Shows how much we need to fix our systems and stop wasting so much.
So this leads to a really fundamental question, right? Should water be seen as a basic human right, something everyone should have access to, or should it be more like a commodity that can be bought and sold?
That's a big debate for sure. The UN, back in 2010, they declared water and sanitation as basic human rights.
So that means everyone should have enough clean, safe, affordable water, right?
In theory, yes. But the reality is billions of people still don't have it. Like in 2022, over 2 billion lacked safely managed drinking water.
So clearly there's a gap between the ideal and what's happening on the ground.
A big one. And that's where the whole water as commodity idea comes in.
How so?
The argument goes, if you put a price tag on water, people will use it more carefully.
So less waste, I guess.
Exactly. Plus, you could use that money to build better water systems, fix leaks and stuff.
That makes sense.
But the flip side is, if private companies control all the water, what happens to people who can't afford it?
Yeah, that's the concern, right? It becomes about profit, not people.
Exactly. It's a tough one to balance, making sure everyone has water, but also using it wisely.
Now, a lot of people turn to bottled water, especially if the tap water isn't safe, but even that's not a simple solution.
Bottled water seems convenient, but it comes with a whole other set of problems.
Like what?
Well, all those billions of plastic bottles, where do you think the water comes from? Often it's pumped out of the ground, and that can really mess up local water supplies.
I never thought about that.
And the industry's booming, like almost 70% growth. That means a lot of pressure on groundwater, which is what 2 billion people rely on.
And then there's the whole plastic problem, right?
Yeah, mountains of plastic waste. Most of it comes from fossil fuels, so bad for climate change. Plus, it takes ages to break down, like 500 years for a plastic bottle.
Wow, that's longer than my lifespan.
Right. And even if you burn it, it releases nasty toxins into the air. And recycling, well, only certain types of plastic bottles get recycled effectively.
There was that UN university study that looked into the bottled water industry.
Oh, yeah. They looked at over 100 countries and basically concluded that the bottled water boom, it's kind of hiding the fact that public water systems are failing.
Meaning people are forced to buy bottled water because they can't rely on what comes out of their tap.
Right. So instead of fixing the problem, we're just creating another one.
So we've covered a lot of ground here.
Yeah.
And it's clear this whole water scarcity thing is a massive web of interconnected issues.
A tangled web.
For demand going up, climate throwing curveballs, to us just not managing water well, to the impact on vulnerable folks, and then this whole debate about whether water is a right or a commodity.
It's a complex challenge for sure.
And for our listeners out there, especially those gearing up for the UPSC exams, understanding these different aspects of water scarcity, it's crucial for seeing how India's challenges fit into the global picture.
It's not just a science issue, it's about economics, society, the environment, how we govern, even international relations.
It's about everything. And it makes you think, right? Like, as more and more essential things become privatized, what does that mean for people's access to the basics? Like water, which is, essential for life itself.
It's a big question and one we need to grapple with.
Absolutely. So listeners, we hope this deep dive into water scarcity gave you some food for thought, got those wheels turning.
Yeah, we just scratched the surface.
If you found it helpful, hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives like this. And hey, if you have any questions or there's something specific you want us to explore further, leave a comment down below.
We love hearing from you.
And just so you know, all the info we talked about today, it's based on articles and reports from The Hindu.
Great source.
Until next time, keep diving deep.
Keep learning.